Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The lunch was unfortunately very good, and the lighting's not so good in here either, so it's going to be very difficult to know if you're nodding off and digesting the food or just thinking deeply about this interesting session. So the title of the session, the focus, is thinking about societal, behavioral-based solutions versus technological-based solutions to various environmental and other constrained futures that we think we may have. And I should just introduce our discussion group very quickly. And unfortunately, my memory is terrible. I'm a little bit dyslexic. Being dyslexic is KO. But I'll start off with the most important person for the process, and that is Lena Hogland Isaacson, which is pronounced incorrectly, who's a research scholar here at the IIASA in the MAG program, the Mitigation of Air Pollution and Greenhouse Gases. She's been involved in various high-level UN and EU projects, and formerly worked for the World Bank and for the Swedish International Development Agency. And why she's most important in this particular session is she's going to be reporting back at the end of it and giving an unbiased, objective view of the discussion that took place. So thank you for that. Lena also wrote some of the introduction to this. Then we have Professor Michael Grubb of Cambridge. He's a professor in energy and climate change. He's also the editor-in-chief of the journal Climate Policy, and previously worked as a chief economist in the Climate Trust, as well as a professor at Imperial College. Professor Karl Steininger is professor of economics at the University of Graz, not too far away from here, and he leads the Human Dimensions program at the Veninger Center for Climate and Global Change, and has had previous positions also with the World Bank and the University of Trieste in Italy. We have only an hour to get through what I think is a challenging and very interesting topic. It's also a challenge because we want to make this an open, inclusive discussion, and so we would really like to invite and invoke comments from the floor. So we'll try and run the session fairly tightly. Both presenters will make an opening statement for about 10 minutes, and then I'll open a discussion with questions to the floor as well as questions to the presenters. And you're more than welcome to make interventions during that time. And there are some thematic areas that I think came up from some of the preliminary discussions that we had that might be of interest. Questions about whether or not we can enforce behavioral change in a democracy, whether or not we found some edge of economics. Are price signals enough, or are they just being implemented incorrectly? As well as, which one wins, technology or behavioral change? So to introduce myself, my name is Professor Mark Howells. I'm the oldest professor from my university, which is the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, where I head up a division of energy systems analysis. One of the things that's interesting about this university, it's very technically focused and done a lot of really high-tech, interesting stuff, but it's also developed a bunch of products and technologies that have impacted our behavior greatly. I think Electrolux was invented in our university. Skype was coded in part by computer science students from KTH, and Spotify, a new music streaming service which is changing the way we listen to music, was developed there too. And I think that's an interesting lead-in to the question that we want to, some of the questions and themes that we want to look at in this session. So to start off with the narrative, which I think is very clear, and I'll be very brief, and then invite Michael up. Population is growing exponentially. We live in a society that values commodities and consumption highly. As wealth increases, consumption grows at the same time. Our human footprint, that footprint is growing. There are questions about whether or not that can be washed over by the waves of biological and other regeneration. Are we using materials up faster than we can or not? And if we are using them up faster than we can, or having impacts that are essentially irreversible because of the rate at which they're occurring, what should we do? Should we invent new technology to try and to try and change our development path and its impacts in a physical way without changing behavior? Or should we change behavior and ration our carbon budgets or ration our ecological budgets or other things? That narrative is put forward in a deliberately provocative way, and with that I'd like to invite Michael to come up and talk about 3 different pillars of development into the future.